Okay. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants. Thank you for joining this webinar. We really appreciate your time, and I'm very much delighted to welcome you all to today's webinars on inclusive artificial intelligence for development in Africa. So thank you for joining us from across the continent and around the world for what promises to be a dynamic and provocative discussion. So artificial intelligence presents significant opportunities to accelerate progress toward sustainable development goals, from powering smart agriculture, energy, optimizing production and supply chain, to improving water and city planning. So we are living in a moment of rapid technological advancement. So artificial intelligence is no longer a concept of the future. It is shaping how we live, work, and solve some of the world's most pressing challenges. And as this technology continues to evolve, so must our commitment to ensure that its benefits are shared equitably and inclusively, especially across regions like Africa, where innovation, creativity, and resilience are already fueling transformation. So this webinar brings together different experts from different sectors. There are policymakers, innovators, development practitioners, and many other stakeholders who join us today to discuss on this important topic. So ladies and gentlemen, without taking too long, allow me to invite Mr. Angelo Gonzalez, the Head of Technology, Innovation and Knowledge Development at UNCTAD, for his opening remarks. So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. Let me first acknowledge my colleagues from the ECE, and particularly Mr. Robert Lishinge, for the support that ECA has provided to the organization of this webinar. And on behalf of our team here in UNCTAD, I would like to welcome all of you to this important event. The purpose of our discussion today is frontier technologies, and particularly artificial intelligence, that, as we know, are shaping the future of the economy and societies in a dramatic way. However, this rapid and deep transformation is happening at a pace and with a scope of change that is often very difficult for stakeholders and governments in particular to respond quickly and effectively. So that's why we have come up with the Technology and Innovation Report that we're going to present to you in a moment. And that's why also we thought it was a good idea to approach our colleagues in ECA to discuss jointly how can African societies in particular position themselves strategically to take advantage of the opportunities generated by AI. My colleagues will give you a more detailed presentation of the findings and the recommendations of our Technology and Innovation Report in a couple of minutes. But before that, I would like to highlight three key messages from the report. The first one is that artificial intelligence may be a turning point for development if we handle it well. The artificial intelligence market is growing very fast, and there are huge opportunities to accelerate the progress towards achieving the SDGs. But deeply uneven access to the benefits of AI can actually exacerbate inequalities. Seizing artificial intelligence opportunities is not something that is going to happen automatically. It requires strong responses from firms, but also from governments, to facilitate access to technologies and to favor their diffusion. The driver forces that trigger artificial intelligence transformation involve three key leverage points: data, infrastructure, and skills. And this brings me to my second message. Infrastructure, data, and skills are the foundation of AI, and they will determine if AI becomes a driver of inclusive growth or a cause for increased inequality. Without robust infrastructure, countries cannot build or run artificial intelligence systems. Without good quality, diverse, and accessible data, they cannot train artificial intelligence models. And without skills, they cannot deploy artificial intelligence effectively, and they cannot steer it towards sustainable development outcomes. So close cooperation across public bodies is key in triggering a technology-led structural transformation. And that brings me in turn to my third message. Many AI-related issues can be addressed at the national level through well-designed policies, but the influence of artificial intelligence goes far beyond national borders, and it necessitates international collaboration and global governance. Despite the growing recognition of the need for global artificial intelligence cooperation, the current AI governance landscape remains very fragmented. 118 countries, mostly countries of the Global South, have not been able to participate in a single artificial intelligence summit or multilateral discussion in the last 3 years. In this respect, the African Declaration on Artificial Intelligence represents a key step towards an increased role for ethical, trustworthy, and inclusive AI adoption. But we need much more African presence in international AI governance. This can foster the sustainable and responsible design, use, and governance of AI technologies in Africa and across the world, and presents an excellent opportunity to strengthen regional cooperation, facilitate knowledge exchange across countries, and reinforce the continent's role in the shaping of global AI governance. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, Africa needs to act fast and act together to take advantage of the opportunities that artificial intelligence offers. Without that, artificial intelligence will not close but widen inequalities, making latecomers more difficult to catch up. I look forward to today's discussion to generate ideas on the ways forward for African countries to leverage AI for inclusive and sustainable development, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzalez, for the opening remarks, and thank you for highlighting the key messages from the report, and specifically the importance of the artificial intelligence in the development space. So let me invite also the director from ECA, Mr. Robert Lizinge, the Director of Technology, Innovation, Connectivity and Infrastructure Division at ECA, for his opening remarks as well. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I just also want to thank Mr. Angel Gonzalez for the opening remark, for setting the scene, so to speak. Actually, I want to start where he ended, the role of artificial intelligence for Africa's economic transformation. This is very much in line with the theme of the next Conference of African Ministers of Finance and Economic Development, which is how to harness frontier technology for the economic and social transformation of Africa. And I think that AI would be part and parcel of that. That's why I believe that our conversation today is very important. It will allow us to reflect and generate good insights into the role of artificial intelligence in harnessing inclusive and sustainable development in Africa. AI holds immense potential for Africa to address some of the most pressing challenges and unlocking new opportunities for economic development. We know that Africa's AI market is projected to grow from $2.5 billion in 2022 to 18.3 billion in 2030, contributing to an estimated 2.9 trillion addition to Africa's economy by 2030. By 2035, AI is projected to increase Africa's GDP by around 4.9%, transforming traditional sectors and holding significant potential to achieve the aspirations of the SDGs and African Union's Agenda 2063. AI, as we all know, brings new opportunities and rapid transformation to Africa's key sectors, including finance, education, healthcare, agriculture, energy, transport, climate change, to name just a few. Permit me just to dive a little bit deeper into some of these sectors. If I take financial inclusion, AI-driven mobile banking and credit helps to expand access to the more than 350 million unbanked Africans. In 2023, AI-based credit scoring reduced loan default rates by 25% compared to traditional scoring methods. If we take education, we know that Africa's e-learning market reached 3.41 billion in 2024. It's expected to grow at an average rate of 19.2% by 2034. If we take healthcare, Africa's telemedicine sector is projected to grow at 17% annually with an estimated market value of 5.4 billion by 2030. AI-assisted diagnostics and biometric help to improve healthcare access for the 600 million Africans without healthcare services. Finally, if we look at job creation, about 10 million AI-related jobs are predicted in Africa by 2030. That's a huge amount of jobs for a continent that is still grappling with unemployment, especially for our youth. Despite the remarkable contribution of AI-based technologies in Africa, key sectors, the continent represents only 2.5% of the global AI market. We need to do more to increase this share. This is mainly due to the existing barriers in Africa. For instance, inadequate infrastructure, limited connectivity, access to the market, digital skill gaps, and financial barriers. I'm sure that some of these issues would be discussed in detail today and have been addressed by the report that will be presented to us. To tackle these challenges, African nations need to invest in the following critical areas. 1, enhancing digital infrastructure and reliable power supply. 2, building data centers and cloud computing capacity to enable AI research and deployment. 3, supporting regulatory frameworks and ethical AI practices to ensure responsible AI adoption. And 4, developing human capital and AI literacy through education training programs. In support of these endeavors, harmonize policies and strategies that collectively drive Africa's AI ambitions and ensure sustainable economic transformation are required. Nevertheless, the endeavors towards harmonized strategies require the engagement of various stakeholders, including governments, private sector, civil society organizations, and international institutions. Today's webinar on harnessing inclusive artificial intelligence for development is organized by the global actors playing active roles in Africa's digitalization efforts, including UNCTAD and ECA, would foster dialogue on regional and global collaborations on AI for inclusive and sustainable development. As I move towards the end, let me say that this webinar consists or is attended by representatives from youth, private sector, government, international organizations, and those will facilitate dialogue and exchange of balanced insights on AI policy priorities and contextual strategies. I would like to thank in advance our representatives from various stakeholders for joining this webinar to contribute to shaping Africa's AI-driven future. I wish you a very productive and fruitful dialogue and engagement, and I thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Robert Lisinge, for the opening remarks and specifically for sharing some very important statistics on how the AI market is growing and how it requires attention from each one of all the stakeholders, especially at policy-making level. So please allow me to invite my colleagues from UNCTAD who are going to do the presentation on the Technology and Innovation Report 2025. So over to you, Waikisi and Antonio for the presentation. I don't know who is going to start, but over to you. The floor is yours for the presentation. You are muted. I think you are muted.
Yeah. Do you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I am Antonio Vezzani and Jackie C2, the two main authors of the report. We will share the presentation. The idea of the report was, as Anker already introduced, that AI is developing very fast, it's posing challenges to countries to react or to design effective policies. And the idea of the report was to give to take AI from a socioeconomic perspective and look at the different dimensions that can be taken into consideration for design of policy or for policy making. The structure of this is basically the structure of the report is we organized our discussion around 5 chapters, and we start from landscaping or providing some snapshot on the concentration of the AI market and about the divide, the digital divide that can be replicated, if not even amplified by artificial intelligence. And then we gradually zoom out from the micro to the macro perspective. In chapter 2, we will discuss about cases of AI adoption and the impact on the workforce and specific cases for African countries. Then in chapter 3, we zoom out at the national level and we discuss features or preparedness of country for artificial intelligence. In chapter 4, we discuss more directly about what is changing at the global level and which are policy options for artificial intelligence. And we close with chapter 5 discussing about AI governance. So from the global perspective, policies from the global perspective. Yes. The starting point of the report is discussing how important is the artificial intelligence market and how are big, huge the potentiality, the opportunity that it will offer in the next decade. In this chart, we show the distribution of the market of frontier technologies. We always work on 17 frontier technologies that are listed above, but the most important piece of information is the yellow part of the chart, with artificial intelligence market projected or expected to grow very fast in the next decade, reaching about $4.8 trillion. Meaning this is a very, very big opportunities. To give an idea, is projected to be about 4 times the market of smartphones. So a lot of opportunities. But also a lot of concentration, meaning that there is a high risk that benefits will not be distributed equally across countries and across people. Just some idea about some numbers to frame how concentration is important or is market in technology market. 100 companies perform about 40% of world R&D. And in these companies, only China has some companies are among the top 100 R&D investors worldwide. Infrastructure is very much concentrated also. For example, supercomputers, most of the supercomputers are in the US, and then we have China and Europe entering the market. And also skills are really highly concentrated. And to give an idea how much is big or how much are the expectation in this market, top technology company market evaluation are above $3 trillion, meaning that this figure is more the whole African GDP. So there is a lot of foundation and a lot of potentialities in this market. So what we do in the report is to assess or to look at the main leverage points that have driven the AI transformation: data, infrastructure, and skill. We use these 3 dimensions to assess country position or different issue that should be considered from a socio-economic perspective, and also to draw most of our recommendation in terms of policy making. I just, why data infrastructure is skill, I don't go through this infographic in depth, but basically this, you need data, you need infrastructure to transmit data, to transmit and collect data, and to make use of AI application or most of the digital application. You need skill to train models, design models, or apply models in the AI models in the economies. You need data to run and train the algorithms, and also to improve the efficiency and optimize the use of infrastructure. So the key leverage points are catalyzer of AI-led transformation, and we use these three points to build the rest of the report. Jackie, over to you.
Thank you, Antonio. So if we look at the micro level in terms of the impact of AI on the labor market, we can see that on the left figures, the impact on automation and augmentation from AI. In advanced economies, the impact is huge. About 1/3 of the jobs is expected to be affected by AI through automation. But at the same time, they also may be able to benefit from augmentation, that is to use AI to supplement their human labor. That reason is because AI now extends from the very routine low-skill tasks to cognitive tasks, where most of these jobs can be found in advanced economy. But for Africa, where many countries belong to the low-income level, the impact would be much less. And it gives some time for African countries to react and also to learn how the advanced economy are adapting to this AI impact. But what really struck me is that on the right-hand side, we can see the exposure or the impact in terms of generative AI. We can see that the augmentation effect is much stronger. And that is because for generative AI, it can generate different kind of content like text, video, and video. And it can also allow users to learn from previous practice. And academic studies show that even very less experienced new hire can learn from the best practice of the experienced staff, and that can be done through Gen AI. So we can see the distinction here between AI and Gen AI, that Gen AI offers higher potential for augmentation, especially in a low-income country. This effect is much higher than the potential automation effect. And I will elaborate a little bit more about this different channel, but this is the snapshot that I want to share with you, the potential exposure to different effects from AI. And in precise terms, the channel can work in 4 ways. The first one is substitution, that is the automation I mentioned. The second one is complement human labor, that is the augmentation that I just mentioned. But AI can also deepen automation, that is to make the existing automation more efficient. And lastly, AI can create new jobs and new industry. But what I want to emphasize here is in terms of the new jobs, many of the new tasks are rather low end, I mean for the developing countries. Studies show that many developing countries are involved in data labeling or some really routine tasks that facilitate the use of AI, but not the rather higher skill tasks like prompt engineering. So even in terms of the new job created, we can see a divide in terms of how different countries or different skill level can benefit from AI. And what we want to advocate here is a worker-centric approach to AI adoption that really focus on the 2 channels on the right-hand side through complementing human labor and creating meaningful new jobs. That is how AI can help us narrow the divide rather than widening the inequalities. And by that, countries can work on 3 levels. The first one is empowering the workforce from basic digital literacy to also supporting them to reskill and also upskill so they can adapt to the new AI working environment. And the second part is engaging workers in the design and implementation of AI, but not just give the AI tools to workers and ask them to adapt, because in that way, it will not really help them to improve the working process. So this kind of engagement in the early process and the co-creation of AI solution is key. And finally, the third one is about fostering the development of human-centric AI solution. That means we could provide some different incentive, like through public procurement, tax incentive, or research funding that steer the development of AI solution to a human-centric. So we can make sure that AI complement human labor, but not substituting them. And in chapter 2, we have a lot of different interesting use case on how AI is being adapted in developing countries. And in Africa specifically, here are 2 examples. One is chatbots that help Tanzanian maize farmers to understand more how they can manage the maize growth. And also they can upload a photo and let the chatbots help them to diagnose whether there is any disease or potential problem with the agriculture. So this is one useful application that we find in Tanzania. And another one is on the right-hand side in terms of healthcare. In Nigeria, a research team developed this app that can record the sound of a baby crying, and then it can help identify whether the baby has any breathing problem or so. So there are many interesting use cases in Africa, and I encourage you to have a look in chapter 2 of this report to find out more how it works and what really is the best practice there. And to summarize, we find 4 key takeaways to promote AI adoption. The first one is in terms of infrastructure. That is the fact that we can redesign the AI solution around locally available digital infrastructure. One example is some offline application that allow people in rural area without good internet connection to still use this AI tools. That is one example. And then the second one is on data. With the new AI technique, we can now use some traditional not available data source, and that help us to untap the potential of different local data source. And from the examples in the chapter 2, you can find out more about this detail. And the third one is about lowering the skill barrier so people can use it very easily, like the application that I showed you with very simple interface that facilitate the adoption of AI. And the fourth one is, of course, to scale the impact, we need to build partnership to assess different resources and technical capabilities and work with different partners so that all this AI adoption can go from a pilot stage to wider adoption and impact. And with this micro view of AI adoption, I now pass the floor back to Antonio to talk more about the preparedness of AI adoption and development.
So to discuss or to assess in chapter 3, country preparedness to AI, we propose a framework. This is a framework that can be applied to all countries, and of course, country can have additional data to dig more in details. We just provide a kind of how to approach the issue. The idea was to say, okay, we can discuss about AI development and AI adoption capacity. They are not mutually exclusive, but AI development may be more demanding in terms of skills or in terms of infrastructure because they need a lot of data center and high transmission broadband, while adoption capacity can be slightly less demanding, but we require also different type of skill with respect to development because it means adopting and adapting artificial intelligence in industry or in different cases. So it needs a kind of knowledge that is related to the business artificial intelligence can be applied to. So what we do is to try to assess country among these 4 dimensions: low adoption or development capacity, to high adoption and development capacity will be the leaders, and we identify different possible paths. On the right is in the chapter we present chart or analysis for infrastructure, data, and skill. This is an example of skills. On the x-axis, we have the developers on GDAP as a share of working age population as a proxy of capacity for development. On the y-axis, we have the working age population with advanced degree as a proxy for AI adoption capacity. And blue points are developed country, yellow points are developing country, and purple points are least developed countries. The chart show that there are huge differences or huge gap in terms of skill capacities among countries. This is however an indicator in terms of intensity, so share of developers within the working population. So to complement the analysis, we go behind the shares and we look at the levels here on the left. This is because large countries or some developing countries show low shares, but in reality, given the large population, behind a low share, there is a huge critical mass in terms of developers that can be leveraged. We discuss about sides and the importance of sides in shaping the options for policy making. And on the other side, we had, for example, here an indicator of dynamics. So despite starting maybe later compared to other countries, there are countries that are performing very well, and we have many African countries among them, in terms of growth of developers in the economy. Just to make a link to the chapter 2, this is really key to see what is behind this growth. If this growth is a high skill task or low skill task, because they are operating on the global market, and it's really crucial to ensure that this growth will be linked to using the capacity of works at the best. Bye. In chapter 4, we talk more from we discuss about industrial policies, how industrial policies are changing in the last decades, and we show two main trends. The first one, this is a chart about the importance of services. So services and the growth of services in terms of world trade export is much faster than that of manufacturing, meaning that there is increasing offering opportunities for diversification. Services are increasing in producing. Behind this growth, there is a strong growth of knowledge-intensive services, so digitally delivered services, meaning that services are increasing actors for innovation and for the development of innovation in the economy. And the other trend is, I mentioned digital delivery services, is the growth of ICT that brought a reorganization of the value chain, of the global value chain around the world. But this means they offer opportunities, but also new challenges for countries. Moving from industrial policies and innovation policy, our point is to say, okay, how do industrial innovation policy should adopted or be adapted to the age of artificial intelligence? This chart showed the number of countries that have a strategy and artificial intelligence strategies in place. As you can see from the chart, is something really new. First country having a strategy in the world 2017 was Canada, and then countries started looking closely at this issue. And we can see that developing countries have been much more responsive in setting national artificial intelligence strategies, while developing countries and LDC are catching up much slower, at a much slower pace, which means that there is a policy gap that can also be replicated in supporting the industry in this transition. So it's really too early to assess what is working and what is not working from a perspective of artificial intelligence policies. 3 points very quickly on this. First of all, we saw that very few policy strategies have foreseen an evaluation mechanism. And it's very difficult to learn from policies if we don't evaluate where they fail, where not fail. Policy making is something new, so we have to accept failures. but we have to learn from failures. It's very crucial for countries to learn from failures or to see why things have worked. Second point is about the overarching approach of most advanced countries. They are increasing their R&D investment. They are increasing focusing, targeting future technology, they call it frontier technology, emerging technology of the future of industry. So meaning they are taking an anticipatory approach, and they are trying to anticipate what will be next and to position themselves. These are implications for other countries that they cannot follow or increase investment to keep pace with their action. And an example about the importance of data and two different approaches of data for adoption is because data is crucial, or is really the new production factors. And this the example I make a quick. We have a series of case studies to see what countries can do to assess different aspects of artificial intelligence. But I would like to compare Chile and Germany experiences. Germany is a strong car manufacturer, and they are leveraging the capacity of the industries and creating this mobility data space where companies can exchange or exchange data to monetize on data, or to use data to train and adapt models for self-driving car or for other services within the car. So what they are doing is creating a sub-industry based on data within an industry that is particularly strong in the countries. And on the other side, Chile has created this data observatory that put together basically government, industry, academy, and civil society. And the idea is we need to develop local business around data. The best way to do it is to open data to the public, to create platform where people can create data, and to disseminate a culture of data for something. So let's say data for business or data for solving some issue that the country has. And because the industry is still not there, they took at the very beginning a very open approach. So we put the data, we try to facilitate the development of something around data within the country. Jackie, over you.
Thank you. When we move from national to international level, as Angel mentioned.
Sorry to interrupt a little bit, colleagues. Please try to summarize as we are running out of time.
Yeah, sure. As Angel mentioned in the openings, we see a fragmented international AI governance situation in which most of the countries in the global south and also African countries are not involved in major international AI governance initiatives. And from this, what we propose, and I would like to go through it very quickly, four suggestions for global AI collaboration. And I will discuss it one by one very quickly. The first one is on accountability, because we cannot ensure responsible AI, transparent AI without accountability. And this framework that we have in Chapter 5 is making reference to the ESG reporting framework. That is an environmental, social, and governance framework that is very popular and mature nowadays in stock market and listed company. So what we highlight here is that we should have impact assessment and reporting on how AI works, and all this information should be made public so people can understand how AI really works and in terms of the data and risk management. And when the standards and protocol are mature, then we can move from voluntary to mandatory reporting with enforcement measure. So this is one recommendation with reference to the ESG model that we think we should strengthen the AI accountability. And in terms of infrastructure, what we advocate here is a shared digital public infrastructure that at the national level, country can build this physical infrastructure, and then through cloud service, they can distribute this computing resources, data, and other key AI resources in a way that can benefit different stakeholders. And this is exactly in line with the African Declaration on AI, on having a distributed sovereign infrastructure for AI. And at the regional and international level, we think that one particularly useful model is the CERN model, which is the world's largest particle physics laboratory in Geneva. And that is an open science, open access model that we think at the regional and international level can facilitate this shared public infrastructure. And on data and scale, open innovation is getting a lot of attention. And in fact, with open data, we have very successful example back in COVID with the researcher data set sharing. And in terms of open source, we are familiar with Linux, Android, and different resources. And this different model also work for AI and also in line with what we've seen in the African Declaration on AI of having this open resources for AI. But what is needed is connected and open repository so we can harmonize and coordinate all these useful resources. And finally, we need to strengthen the AI capacity building. And there are 4 key actions. I won't go into the details of knowledge sharing, technology transfer, and capacity building, which we are all familiar with. But what I want to focus on is South-South collaboration, especially among African countries. Because one very important example is the use of Swahili in East Africa. In the case of a small East African country, they may not have enough data to build AI training or to use AI in a meaningful way. But grouping the Eastern African countries, they can have a large scale for Swahili AI model training or use of AI. So this kind of collaboration, especially with the facilitation of AFCFTA, offer really significant potential on how we can really build this AI capacity. And this is what we advocate through this 4 recommendation. And I thank you for your attention and happy to take any comments and feedback here.
Thank you so much, colleagues, for presenting the technology and innovation report, and specifically for sharing some AI adoption in Africa, some specific examples. So as a takeaways from your presentation on how to promote AI adoption, so we need 4 key elements, which means infrastructure, data, skills, and partnerships. So let me invite Mokhtar from ECA to moderate the next session. We are having a panel discussion. So over to you, Mokhtar. You will be introducing each one of the speakers. Mokhtar,
good morning. Yeah,
okay.
Good morning, Jan. Good morning, everyone. It is a great pleasure to moderate this session. I think we have a very good presentation on this AI readiness innovation report. I think it is something we can build from there on the discussion we are going to have now in this very important panel. We are going to have several views of AI in the continent, from international organization, member state, on the policy level, also private sector, academia, and also very important is a view from the youth in the continent. As you know, African country will be more dominated by youth in 2050, and innovation now is leading by youth in the continent. Why it is important to get the view of to have the view of youth in the concept in the how we are going to use AI to create more opportunity, more job, more welfare for the African continent. Let me start now by at the continental level. Let me start by my several panelists. I have Madam Suela from African Union. Please introduce yourself for 1 minute, Suela.
Good morning, Mokhtar. Good morning, everybody. My name is Suhila Amazuz. I am Senior Digital Policy Officer within the African Union Commission. I have experience in developing continental policies and strategies, including the Continental Strategy on Artificial Intelligence, and it is my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fuela. Let me go to the member state representative of the government of Ethiopia, Dr. Messe.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Messa Haile Mariam, working as Director General for Gifted and Especially Talented Students in Ethiopia. It is an institution for gifted and talented. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Let me move to private sector represented by Dr. Gibson.
Yes, greetings, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jameson Olufuye. I'm the principal consultant at Contemporary Consulting, an IT firm based in Abuja, Nigeria. We've been in business for about 30 years. And I'm also the chair of the Advisory Council of the Africa ICT Alliance, the private sector lead for ICT issues in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. On the academia side, Dr. Jeremy.
Good morning, Maktar and everyone. I'm Jeremy Okonjo, an assistant professor of law at the University of Warwick, where I do teaching and research on international economic law at the intersection of the digital economy, environmental governance, innovation, among other related areas. In addition to that, I've also been more recently a consultant for the ECA, where I've also been working with the ECA on matters relating to legal identity and digitalization in the context of refugees and border management. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Jeremy. And last but not least, Mrs. Millennium from Tanzania.
Thank you so much, Maktar. Hi, everyone. My name is Millennium Anthony. I am the coordinator for the Tanzania Youth IGF, and I'm also a youth envoy at the International Telecommunication Union, ITU. And it's my pleasure, and I'm so excited for today's conversation. Thank you.
I think we have a very good panel to discuss on the subject today. Now, let me start by my colleague from African Union. As you know, in Africa, we have almost 10 African countries who already officially adopted national AI strategy or policy. And additionally, we have 32 African countries engaged on this process.
It's counting.
And in 2022, we adopted this African data governance, EU data governance framework. And in 24 July last year, we adopted this continental AI strategy. What concrete steps are being taken to support national implementation and coordination across EU member states? It is the first question I would like to ask you, Suela. And you can expand on the way forward for fostering regional alignment and cooperation in AI governance, because we have seen a lot of South-South cooperation, collaboration in this report. It is a key. Please go ahead. We have 4 minutes to answer on this question, please.
Thank you so much. I think the question is very important. And I would start maybe by thanking you, UNECA and UNCTAD, for inviting us to be part of this webinar, which is timely. That is, it aims to position Africa as an integral player in this AI revolution. To respond to this question, I think for us as a continent, maybe the major step was the adoption of the continental strategy last year that shows the collective commitment of African countries to develop the necessary capabilities and also lay the foundation for development of an AI ecosystem in Africa. We know that the gaps there are, we have infrastructure gaps and also skills gaps, and also there is a need to create enabling conditions to ensure large and ethical and responsible AI development adoption across the continent. So the vision of the African Union on AI is to harness the potential of AI to support the development of the continent, accelerate the attainment of the Agenda 2063 and SDGs goals, and also to stimulate economic growth, social progress, and improve people's lives. So to achieve this, there is a number of recommendations and priority actions that have been identified in the strategy. And the objective is to maximize the benefits, is really to transform critical sectors like education, health, agriculture, and also delivery of key services. And while at the same time putting the necessary safeguards to protect people and also to preserve the African identity and also diversity of culture and linguistic in the digital space, as we need to promote our identity, is this transition to AI. So as you mentioned, many countries, they are already developing, 10 of them, they already adopted their national strategies, and many, they are in the process. And from our side, we are putting in place the necessary mechanism to ensure that there is alignment, that to ensure the harmonization of the policies, and also to ensure that this AI is developed with the principle of solidarity and collaboration. So in our strategy, there is a whole section on partnership, on collaboration, as we aim to invite all countries to pool all the resources together, that we can advance this AI in a comprehensive, and also to ensure equitable and just access to AI to all African people and also to businesses. And so we promote a governance structure like this multi-stakeholder participatory approach, and also we aim to develop agile and flexible regulations that meet our context, because there is a need to create enabling conditions for African-led research and innovation, and also to create conditions for development of AI industry in Africa and a market that can compete at international level. So there is ongoing discussion. Like last time, we organized our first policy dialogue. It was high-level policy dialogue that was hosted by the African Union and the government of Ethiopia and the Institute of Peace of Security in Africa. And the outcome of that high-level dialogue is that the member states, they reiterated their willingness to accelerate AI adoption in Africa. And also they declared AI as a priority, as a strategic priority, both at continental level and also at national level. And among the recommendations, they called to the African Union to establish a continental governance mechanism on AI, that we can ensure that we develop the necessary norms to ensure safety and security as we design and we develop AI systems, and also to ensure that there is fairness, and also to ensure that this AI that we are engaging with is aligned with our strategic priorities at continental level. We know that there is many innovative solutions. We have seen in the presentation, like there are many sectors that are progressing very well, like agriculture, and also the use of local languages, that there is many applications. So far, we have around 2,400 startups that rely on AI, and also the market on AI or startups also is expanded. We aim to reach like 10 billion by 2056. And for this, we need to collectively, as a continent, like put all the resources together and also align and create synergies among the policies and strategies. I stop here, and I will be happy to come back if there is any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have to put together all the resources of the continent, well noted. But you know, as you said, a lot of country now, for a lot of country, AI is a priority in terms of policy strategy. Concretely, how is the African Union assisting its member state in designing AI policy?
Thank you for this follow-up question. Like, as part of the strategy, we have an implementation plan. It is strategy is 5 years, 2030. And the implementation plan, it has like 2 phases. The phase 1 is kind of preparing the conditions for AI adoption in Africa, namely building capacity and also mobilizing the resources and developing the governance mechanism. As I said, like regarding mobilization of the resources, we have started integrating AI as a priority within our partnerships, our overall partnerships with other regions and countries like the AU partnership, the AU-China partnership. We are positioning AI as one of the priority for the partnership, and we aim to mobilize the resources to support member states in this transition. And also on capacity building, there is a number of programs that started with the African Union Development Agency, AUDA-NEPAD, where they aim to provide capacity building at different levels, especially for policymakers to enable them to design and to develop their national AI strategy, because as we know that all African countries, they are different, and also they are at different level of development and digitalization. So we need to build capacity that each country can develop the AI strategy that can meet its specific needs and also respond to its context. So there is ongoing work, and also there is a program that we aim to start this year, is where we aim to provide technical assistance to all member states, especially the one who are yet to start this process to develop their national AI strategy. So the work is ongoing. There is a lot to do, considering the gaps that we are facing in infrastructure and capacity building. But as I said, since it is declared as a continental priority, we believe that we will progress fast in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well done. Now we have a view of at a continental level and the support provided by our continental body to member state. Now let me go now to member state, Ethiopia, to Dr. Mesai. We following this entire technology report is not new. We are facing issue related to infrastructure, data, skill development, and capacity building. Could you share how Ethiopian National Development Strategy align with this priority? And one step are being to build inclusive AI capacity in the next generation of the Ethiopia Strategy 2030, Digital Transformation 2030. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mukhtar, for the chance. As you have said, the report technology, the technology report 2025 is good. Thank you for the presentation and the clear understanding that is created now. Ethiopia actually has, after 4 years of effort, developed a national AI policy with action plan focusing in all the points of which are included in the report. In having, Ethiopia is trying to have an integrated digital infrastructure, which is actually mentioned on Digital 2025, Digital Transformation Strategy 2025. And in having artificial intelligence enabled infrastructures, including connectivity, data centers, which are even built by private sector in the ICT Park of Ethiopia. And above all, we are currently developing a digital public infrastructure, including the national ID, which accelerates the adoption of digital in different sectors, digital technologies in different sectors. And as a third point, we are trying to establish a supporting ecosystem, like a startup ecosystem, which is going to change our problems into digital solutions with the support of AI. And we believe strongly in having a strong startup ecosystem that can take the risk and develop an enterprise with maybe artificial intelligence enabled products and services. And above all, Ethiopia is currently having a skill development and education. As you may know, education is very critical and critical in AI, both as a tool. AI can serve as both as a tool and even as a product, as a technology. So in different sections, we are trying to use AI as a tool. As you know, AI is simply a mathematical algorithm without the involvement of skilled labor, skilled manpower from different sectors, the developers, academia, the private sector, and the government. AI by itself cannot do anything. So skill development, we are emphasizing in skill development, especially in AI as a tool. We are using it as in a class. In my institution, for example, there is a defined framework for using AI as a tool, which supports the students based on the drawbacks of AI itself. As you might know, AI is the most addictive. AI has opened a way for the most addictive algorithms, mathematical algorithms, which is created by man so far, like TikTok and Instagram. So we are trying to utilize those weaknesses of AI, which makes the students addicted to browsing and scrolling down, to enable them in providing education using the same algorithm, but not for video scrolling, but for learning and notifications, counting. In all the incentive can be applied in education, and we are trying to use that one. And the regulatory environment, Ethiopia is working on the regulatory environment too. So we have identified 8 policy items. The first one is the human capital development in AI, both as a researcher and as even citizen awareness. And we are trying to adopt different learning techniques. In immersive learning, for example, is one of where students can have a direct relationship or live in the education itself, and using AR and VR. And in professional development, we are trying to develop programmers which can customize AR, different AR models. As you know, we have more than 84 languages, and we are having difficulty in addressing all the language in terms of inclusivity, but we are trying to develop customizers and professionals which can do that for us. Even, and there are different startups which are doing, providing different solutions in different languages. And above all, we are trying to develop leaders in Ethiopia, and there is an AI leadership development program at all levels, especially the government. And Ethiopia is currently working on harnessing the potential of the few which are actually forgotten, which due to their giftedness and talent. Giftedness and talent, if it is harnessed properly, we believe that it can come up with an advanced capacity of problem solving. And this at the end can create good solutions which add proper values. So we are working on the capacity building section and in all levels, as citizen awareness level, professionals, leadership, and especially harnessing the gifted and talented approach. As it is indicated in by all the presentations so far, infrastructure is also one of them. Our policy has taken infrastructure development, AI-enabled infrastructure development at different levels. And we are building different infrastructure. The strong point of our policy here in developing infrastructure is involving the private sector to build privately owned data centers, which are AI, which have AI capacity in the national data center. And there are many data centers which are built in the ICT park in Ethiopia. So the participation of the private sector, we believe that if we provide them with proper incentive structure, which is actually supported on our policy, the incentive structure will encourage the private sector development, attract investment in AI and beyond, so that it can contribute positively to the different problems we have in our different sectors. The third point our policy focuses on is data. As you might know, data is both important to train the AI systems and models themselves. Unless we train with the proper data, the AI can have misleading conclusions, especially in these days. Even the search engines are being changed to AI-enabled or machine searching. Google is coming with such a solution. So if we want to have a proper image, if we want to have a proper national image, a proper data provision on the internet, we need to develop a training data which actually expresses the status on the ground. Otherwise, synthetic data would be produced, and those synthetic data can come up with synthetic conclusions, and it might end up in synthetic image or synthetic national image. So what I want to emphasize on this is training data has to be part of data management, national data management, and the policy addresses that one very well. The other is we have an institute. Madam Amazuz has mentioned AII, and that created a good opportunity to have identify the research and development and organize and manage the research and development efforts of Ethiopia in artificial intelligence. Above all, the contribution of this center is going to be R&D in AI. For this, the report has actually mentioned Ethiopia, and I think our rank is also good in R&D component of that. So we are currently conducting emerging and biotechnology in the frontier, and there are patents being produced the last year, and we have many patents in AI itself. For example, I remember we have AI patents. We produced AI patents, 4 AI patents in agriculture and health sector. So the R&D is one of the focus areas or issues of the policy. As I've already mentioned, we are trying to develop an enabling environment for the startups, and we provide a very attractive incentive for startups. And those startups, as far as they are registered in Ethiopia and have a headquarters in Ethiopia, I think they are welcome to invest in AI and solving Ethiopian problems and creating enterprises and come up with adding value to products and services. There is an attractive incentive, which is endorsed last week by Council of Ministers and now forwarded to the Parliament. I think we are in a good progress regarding this. And Ethiopia has identified the importance of fair, inclusive, and transparent and sustainable AI development. By the way, in policy or by designing for fairness, inclusiveness, and transparency for sustainability, I think are well taken by the Ethiopian policy. Okay. And at the final stage, ethical considerations are also taken in the policy seriously. Thank you I will come back if there are questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mese. I think you highlight several things where we need private sector involvement. The case of Ethiopia can be duplicated in several other African countries. Besides, we are at several levels of IT development. Now, I'm going to move now to Dr. Jimson. we have seen several challenges on this following the two previous panelists issue regarding data governance, issue regarding infrastructure, participation of the private sector, such as building this data center, using also the local language to develop more application, more added value. As African are more than 2,000 languages, it is a good opportunity for the continent. How can the private sector contribute to bridging this gap?
Thank you very much, Dr. Maktar, and greetings again, everyone. Thank you for having me. Let me really first congratulate UNTAC for this rich report and to appreciate the work you've been doing generally. FICTA has been benefiting from your work seriously. Likewise, ECA, we commend the leading role of ECA in Africa and also AU. Thank you very much. The private sector, right before, during, and after the WSIS 2003 and 2005 summit, have played important roles in harnessing the power of the ICT, also known as the internet in the industry, in the global economic productivity. According to Oxford 2020 report, the ICT have added more than 10 trillion to the global economy, largely as a result of the critical role of the private sector since the internet was commercialized in 1998 by the USG, the United States government. The UNECA recently, let me refer to this, published report on the cybersecurity for development in the fourth industrial revolution. And that indicated that a 10% increase in cybersecurity maturity enables up to 5.4% increase in GDP. Likewise, internet penetration increases GDP by 8.2%. So this underscores the need for deepening infrastructure provision in Africa, considering that our internet penetration starts at about, say, 39%. Special intervention funds like the universal provision funds being managed by government are regulated to deepen internet penetration in rural and underserved areas. As an application, as a matter of fact, we consider AI as an application and a frontier technology. AI is supposed to enhance the global economic prosperity much further, as the report very well articulated and indicated, through productivity increases in agriculture, health, business, commerce, governance, among others, as well identified. In Africa, the private sector has been playing important engagement and advisory role on high-level policy matters, that through AFICTA and its members in various countries. As you know, AFICTA started out with 6 countries in 2012, and today we're in the 43 African countries supporting government efforts. So we are involved in the articulation of national AI strategy documents, for example, in Nigeria. We remain committed to engaging with governments, that is the executive and the legislators, on the formulation of appropriate bills to promote AI for good and prohibit AI for harm. The enactment of appropriate AI policy and laws surely will unlock important budgets that will enable the prioritization of investment funding on critical AI application for health services delivery, as the report very correctly identified for Nigeria. Because right now, the Nigerian government is giving about $6,000 for AI research. So it's also deepening investment in transportation management. Lagos State government is using this already. Enhancement of government to citizen, government to business, and government to government digitalization programs. As we speak, a number of private sector entities in Africa have developed AI agents to address routine and repetitive processes. They are also in collaboration with global leaders towards ensuring the local data set complements AI application with global coverage. In summary, for this, noting that we have rich cultural heritage, the private sector has also been highly involved in capacity development to increase AI skill set through mentoring programs, internship, handholding programs, and many more. So I will stop here for now, Dr. Maktar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very good example on how a private sector can be involved on AI adoption. Now, a follow-up question. We follow up this presentation by our colleague from UNCTAD. They highlight 4 strategies to support AI adoption in developing countries, such like African country, namely the digital infrastructure or public or DPI, digital public infrastructure, this leveraging data, and also the skill barrier, and as well as this building international partnership. You did a lot in the AFCTA and also in Nigeria. Can you share a successful example where a private sector is doing very well on this 4 key strategy to support AI adoption in Nigeria? You can also provide another example in any African country.
Okay. There is one fundamental truth I always say, Dr. Makta. In Africa, say, and as a case with many other developing and developed economies, things don't move until government move. So that's why again we appreciate the work UNECA is. They provide leadership, which is good. So this principally because the government as an entity controls huge budget of the state. They are usually the single biggest spender and implementer of new projects. The good part is that the projects are usually implemented in collaboration with the private sector, as my colleagues from government in Ethiopia well articulated. And so in Nigeria, for example, through the Data Protection Act, which we collaborate with the government to sector, organizations serving as data protection compliant organizations, DIPCO, the Nigeria Data Protection Commission has created thousands of new jobs, boosting skill sets for data gathering, categorization, control, management, and protection. In addition, and based on the imperative to bridge the AI skill gap, the government of Nigeria initiated a 3 million technical talent 3MTT program, and more than 20,000 workforce have been trained so far on diverse topics, including data science, data analytics, AI, coding, machine learning, cybersecurity, among others. Of course, we had similar story from Ethiopia, and I know a lot of examples so in South Africa and Egypt, and even in Ghana. The point is that where there is infrastructure rollouts, data gathering, as with national identity data collection program in Nigeria, skills development or policy formulation and articulation, the private sector is a veritable partner in progress. We are partner in progress to support the realization of government vision and objective for the people. Maybe I could just look at 1-2 other instances, illustration, in terms of example. We know that the Alliance of Green Infrastructure in Africa has enabled up to $10 billion Africa initiative that seek to address lack of bankable green infrastructure projects to accelerate Africa's just and equitable transition to net zero and bridge the continent's infrastructure gap in low carbon and climate resilient manner, extensively leveraging the private sector. So this initiative was launched by the African Development Bank in partnership with African Union, African 50, and other partners. So some private sector concerns have access to these funds and incentives. And it's available. You need to search for it. Like in Nigeria, there's funding available for many of these activities. Contemporary, Telco, that's my company, Contemporary, we provide infrastructure using green technologies to deepen internet access, cloud services, data centers, and also provide reliable, stable electricity. Workforce readiness. We are involved in workforce readiness. For example, in my own company, where we have an AI lead that's been appointed that leads our AI activities. And then a lot of automation, chat boxes, agents to help it. And also open source. We use open source low-code tools like TensorFlow as recommended the report, entire report. Auto machine language, Hugging Face, OpenAI, API, well in use, at least some of us, and we are trying to really extend the use to others as well. So in short, we have developed, some of us developed locally relevant tools, especially for local government. They also take cognizance of our cultural heritage. So though we have challenges in terms of connectivity, but this helps it. And let me give you another example, like for example, OPay and MoneyPoint. These are payment platforms. They are recorded huge success. They brought in many people into financial inclusion, even to using the AI benefits. So we also form alliances. We're forming alliances all across the continent and across the world as well. And we run awareness campaign. We have e-conferences to demystify AI, and we build trust. So we cherish our partnership with ECA in this regard, and in fact, we take seriously what UNCTAD has been doing. UNCTAD has been working on capacity development, and we relate with UNCTAD for create more awareness, and people have been responding. So we appreciate again UNCTAD for that. So in summary, the best way to scale the effort is by governments deliberately creating the demand, as the government of Ethiopia mentioned, for the services through policies and law, so that, that more people can be encouraged to focus on this. So things like modern data governance and AI law, as UNECA did for cybersecurity, will also be of great help in this space, though a lot of countries have gotten their AI strategies in place. But a model law, like you did, UNECA, for data governance will also be very helpful. Thank you very much, Dr. Mutra.
Thank you for this relevant example. Now let me move to Dr. Jeremy. You know, in the continent, for AI adoption, we have a high demand for digital skills. According to several statistics, we need 230 million digital jobs by 2030. And the case is very critical in the continent, because the ICT sector will need around 20 million of digital professionals. On the capacity will be training, we need around 800 to 750,000 digital trained workers. This shows digital skills is a priority for the continent. Also, we need to promote our innovation, research and development innovation for AI adoption. What future research direction do you see as the most promising for understanding the potential of AI and frontier technology to drive the Africa development? And also, how can academia lead the way in exploring the several areas when we talk about 230 million digital jobs in agriculture, climate change, health, finance? Over to you, Dr. Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Mukhtar, and to the rest of the panelists for your illuminating comments in this discussion. And of course, to UNCTAD and the ECA for organizing this session. Now, allow me to start off my contribution with the second part of the question, to just paint the historical role that academia has played in technological development over the last 100 or 150 years. And one of the contributions that actually reflects the kind of policy discourses we are having today is the fundamentally critical approach to the technocratic culture that has largely undergirded the technology sector, industrialization, etc. For example, the idea of technological rationality, the idea that technical logic is superior to human logic, has been critiqued for more than 100 years. Secondly, the idea, that of technological efficiency, that efficiency as a value is more important, more superior to social, political, and other values such as democracy, etc. Now, I point to this critical approach historically as one of the ways in which academia and academic research, for that matter, has shaped the policy conversations we are having today, because we've now come to a place where we have politicized technological development, the technocratic domain. We can actually question technology. We no longer believe that technology is always right. And that has brought us to a point where even as a continent, as Africa, as different countries that are shaping their national AI strategies, we are now talking about concepts such as data sovereignty, digital sovereignty as responses to digital colonialism. And so just to say that academia has historically played a very important role through research in essentially shaping how technology is midwifed into contemporary society in the course of human history. Having said that, in response to the questions relating to the need for digital skills, the need for digital jobs, etc., and the kinds of research agenda that we need to shape moving forward, I have a couple of areas in mind that I think as should be research priorities that can actually shape how African countries approach the digital era, approach the AI revolution through their various national AI and related technology policies. The first area of research intervention is, of course, how AI can actually drive inclusive economic transformation. And we should not take it for granted that digitalization is a silver bullet to resolve some of the persistent challenges that African countries are facing, such as relatively low productivity, heavy reliance on primary commodities, and of course, limited industrial diversification. In as much as we argue that indeed AI may offer a pathway to leapfrog the traditional stages of industrialization of development by enabling automation, precision production, and new value chains, we need to ask ourselves, what are the pathways for leapfrogging industrialization using AI in a way that does not reinforce the existing inequalities and jobless growth? Because now we are talking about de-skilling, which is largely going to impact developing countries whose comparative advantage in global trade is largely labor, and especially unskilled labor. How do we, as economies that are largely agricultural, how do we leverage AI in a way that indeed leads to economic growth that also ties in skills development so that workers are not left behind in the digital revolution? So having said that, we certainly need to explore how AI can catalyze industrial transformation without the need, for example, for the large-scale legacy infrastructure, particularly by creating digitally enabled, decentralized production networks. In addition, we also need to ask ourselves, how can AI enable the largely micro and small medium enterprise-based economies in Africa, since these MSMEs form the background of African economies, but struggle with access to markets, capital, and technology. So research needs to indeed figure out how AI can lower barriers to entry and help them compete for growth. Another important area for research is, of course, localization of AI technologies. Now, UNCTAD's reports over the last 5 or so years on the digital economy have painted quite a dire picture in relation to how the control of the digital economy is largely concentrated on a handful of technology companies, predominantly in America and China. And that then means that most AI systems are trained on non-African data and languages, leading to tools that are ineffective, exclusionary, and biased. And so there is an urgent need to develop context-aware AI models that understand and serve African linguistic, cultural, and infrastructural realities, especially when we think about the digital divide. And so some key questions again become, how can African languages and cultural knowledge be encoded in AI systems to ensure inclusive and democratize, or rather inclusion and democratize access to these AI services? What approaches are best suited for low resource environments? And that means, again, research should come in to design efficient AI models that operate on, low resource infrastructures that, again, are more relevant to African context. We also need to think about how research can help us figure out how, AI can help us deal with some of the existential challenges that African countries are facing, such as climate resilience or other climate change, and that is because, again, Africa is highly vulnerable to, climate change, yet lacks robust data and predictive tools for managing disasters, water scarcity, food insecurity, etc. So beyond simply building or rather having access to AI systems, how are these AI systems actually helping us deal with the existential challenges? Because, again, AI has the potential for improving climate modeling, early warning systems, resource optimization, but of course, these solutions must be grounded in local knowledge and real-time data. And so, again, it is important for research to lead the way in helping us figure out what AI innovations can do to strengthen climate adaptation in rural communities, how they can improve early warning systems and risk mitigation in vulnerable regions. Another important area is, of course, ethics, governance, and digital rights. Again, when we contextualize the place of African countries within the global economy, African countries have largely been data subjects rather than being at the point of the data value chain where they are actually capturing value and benefiting from the digital economy. And to that extent, again, it is important for us in terms of research to figure out how we can continue to promote AI adoption while at the same time, dealing with the risks such as discrimination, surveillance, digital colonialism that I've mentioned earlier. And that means, again, through research, we need to figure out homegrown AI governance frameworks that reflect local values, that protect rights, ensure democratic accountability, considering that, again, these technologies in many instances are developed and headquartered in the US, China, in most instances. And again, what are African priorities in AI regulation and data governance? How can AI systems reflect African communitarian values and indigenous worldviews that indeed need to be encoded in these AI infrastructure to ensure that AI is not just technically functional, but culturally legitimate because it has embedded principles such as reciprocity, Ubuntu, collective well-being, which as Africans we deem as important values within various communities in the continent. Again,
thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We are running out of time. We'll come back to the discussion. We'll come back to you. Thank you very much for your contribution. Now let me move to Millennium. Everything we are discussing across the world, across Africa, is for youth. It's a future of youth. Youth as the architect of Africa's digital future. And your view is very, very important in terms of designing policy, design capacity building, digital skills, how we can develop our innovation. Now, before, what are some of the key barriers that African youth face in accessing on the opportunity provided by the AI? And how also you learn, you hear from government, from private sector, from academia and international organization, how this entity can help provide better support to you in this field of AI. Millennium, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mokhtar. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, very well. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And one of the key barriers that I've seen that African youth face in terms of accessing AI opportunities is what I would call a triple divide. And in the triple divide, I'll talk about three main divides that are currently present. And the first being the digital divide. So when I talk about digital divide, I don't mean internet access only, but I mean reliability, I mean accessibility, but I also mean the relevance of the internet. Now we see one of the biggest challenges that many young people face a challenge of accessing the internet, especially those who are still in rural areas. And in the end, this actually results to failure for them to engage in all these AI platforms or AI tools. And this is really one of the biggest barriers. Let's say, considering the example that I currently live in Dar es Salaam, which is one of the developed cities in Tanzania. And there are a lot of opportunities for young people to engage in change-making projects or innovation projects, but it's not the same case to young people who are outside Dar es Salaam, for example, to access this kind of opportunities. So I think really one of the biggest challenge is that digital divide. Now, the second kind of divide that is currently present is what I would call the skills divide. And this mainly is actually the gap that is currently existing between the education systems that we have and the demands that AI has. And when I talk about skills divide, I'm not talking just about teaching young people how to code. It's about what young people get to learn and how do they learn and whether what they learn actually prepare them to lead or to just follow. And one of the things that I've also noted is that skills actually, especially even the AI skills, they don't grow in isolation or in an individual state. And usually for youth, having no mentors, having no internships for youth, having no real world projects for youth, and it's actually one of the biggest barriers for them to actually meaningfully learn and also apply the AI and whatever thing that they learn in their career. And one of the other challenge in the skills divide is that there is a challenge of language coming from Tanzania, where we have more than 121 tribes, and young people also still have challenges in understanding English, for example. And we see now a lot of AI learning resources available in English, and meaning that young people that are not good in speaking English or do not really understand English, they're going to be left behind in this kind of conversations. So, and we see all these materials are not really tailored to the African context. So, for example, you might find these AI learning resources are talking about examples from the Silicon Valley, maybe, but also they have these strong technical vocabularies. This can really be hard for a person in rural community to understand this kind of terminologies. And the last kind of divide that I want to talk about is the opportunity divide. When I talk about opportunity divide, I'm talking about the systemic and the structural gaps that limit young people to engage and actually participate and access these global platforms, but also funding, but also networks, and also to be present in decision-making spaces. So we see most young people in Africa are not really on the table, but they're also not being invited in the tables where decision-making is made. And actually this makes it so hard for them to actually engage in the AI development. And also in terms of opportunity, I'll also talk about funding, where we see, AI has been actually one of the rising topics recently in Africa, for example, at least I can say in Tanzania. And we see a lot of young people are actively coming up with new innovations, with new solutions to solve challenges in the community using AI. And we see most of these funding pools that are currently present or out there are usually designed for big institutions or companies, but also not for individuals or early stage innovators. And this actually becomes a very big challenge for youth, for example, to engage in AI development. And coming to the second part of your question, which was about government and international organizations in terms of to better support young people. First, my biggest recommendation would be governments and all these international organizations who need to rethink the models that they support on how they used to support young people. So it's not really about including young people and having them at the table, but they need to be trained and empowered more on how they can build these tools, but also on how they can govern AI. And one of the key actions that I would recommend for governments and international organizations, one would be building and investing on local AI hubs, where we can have young people have access to all these innovation hubs and they can learn. And these hubs now don't really have to be only in the capital cities. We might need to also have these kind of hubs in rural areas. In rural areas too. But also now in the hubs, we can also make sure that there's access of funding to the innovations that young people have. And the second one will be on education. So I think at this point, we can't really say AI kids maybe don't really have to learn about AI. It's too complex for kids. So I think this is a calling for governments to actually include AI in the national curriculum, starting in primary school and secondary school, maybe I can say. Yeah, so we don't really have to keep kids, for example, away from learning AI. We actually need to include them and actually teach them. Let's say at age 7, we can teach a kid on how to code and write programs on AI and all that, but we can teach them how machine learn, but also we can teach them how they can actually question tech, but also how they can create with technology, rather than just consuming the contents that are coming with technology. But also, we can also empower teachers in schools, because they're the ones who spend so much time with the students, but so we can empower them with AI, but also professional development courses in AI, but also in tech education. Yeah, and I think governments really can play a very important role in that. And the last one is representation of youth in AI discussions, AI platforms, and all these opportunities that are currently there. I see one of the challenges that at least youth in Africa face, is that there's there's very little representation of youth in terms of like discussions on AI. At this point, I think we shouldn't really have to fly to New York or to go to Geneva for our voices to be heard. We can just be in our homes. We can still remain in Africa, but we have to use maybe the existing platforms. And those platforms need to ensure that our voices are really heard and our contributions are taken into consideration. And lastly, just to close this, I think AI has really made us enter a very new era. And the reality is we can't really predict what AI is going to be in the next few years, or even how AI is going to be advanced. But what really we can do now is prepare now these young people and children with the right skills on how they can leverage AI. And it's really not mostly about technical, it's mostly about not technical too. Yeah, so we need to teach them, to make sure we support them, but also prepare them for the changes that AI is going to make.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much for this very important contribution on the youth side. I think we need to build your capacity. You have to be we need to involve you in all places where we make a decision for youth. And you are the future of the continent. It's very important. I think all panelists hear you very well, and also the audience. Thank you very much for this very good contribution. Now let me open. We are running out of time. Let me take 1 or 2 or 3 questions before we conclude this session. If you have any question, I think there is a moderator and moderator online. Any question, please?
So dear participants, you can raise your hand for a question.
We have Ida from Ida AI. Yeah, Ida, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. My name is Ida Nganga. and I am the director for the AI and STEM Partnerships Hub. I'm also very passionate about women in AI, and this is why I am raising my hand to ask this question. Because there's one thing that we are pushing for, and it's for the participation of women in AI innovation. You don't have to be a technologist, but you need to at least get access to the learning, be able to upskill, and able to use this technology in whichever area you're in. You could be in agriculture or you could be in health sciences as a health worker. But why are these AI innovations passing you by, or you're just listening to them, about them? So what can we do, good people? And maybe you can also give us a good idea of how we can scale the knowledge that we have as our as members here. For us, we are ready and able to collaborate with you to take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this collaboration and for this question. It is a contribution. I think, let me check if there is another one, please. Anyone? You are so quiet. The subject is very important. Any question from the floor?
Magda, we have one question from the chat.
Okay.
So what are universities in Africa doing to integrate AI tools with the students?
Okay, second question. Even if you have a contribution to share one experience, good experience on AI adoption in your country, please go ahead. You are welcome. You want to be more interactive for this webinar. Okay, you are panelists. No, you are panelists. We will come to you later. Okay. Let's give the floor to the participant.
I see there is one hand from the chat.
Okay, go ahead. I didn't see the hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for this wonderful initiation of AI, especially in the African continent. I've appreciated all the presenters on the panel. I'm Cliff Richard from Uganda, and it has been a very great opportunity linking up with the continental players, especially African Union and our key experts in driving the agenda of AI. A lot has been talked about integration of AI into the economy. And given the challenges of Africa in particular, the issues of capacity building, the issues of training, the issues of patency, all these are issues that are really fragmented. And in relation to what the AU is proposing, are there any opportunities where AU can come up with guidelines and tools that can guide and inform respective countries on how best AI can be adopted in terms of the training, given that the majority of the African population is the young population. And now we needed to have interventions that can target the young population to start learning these things from the beginning in terms of capacity building. Then two is that we are looking at countries contributing towards making resources available for AI interventions in the different structures. So how are we aligning this in terms of strategic agenda to ensure that in the planning processes where countries are now planning their national budgets, there must be some catalytic funding that is allocated for this AI research and also AI integration to ensure that countries are compelled to do this, because if we don't do it, then who else will do it at the beginning, especially the governments? The last question is that moving forward, can we be able to address the issues of patency, especially at African continental level, because we have this young population that comes with a lot of innovations in AI. How do we aggregate all of them to accelerate the issue of AI patency and the APIs so that they are protected to benefit from the AI industry? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this. Let's move. Can we have a question from youth? We need to give the floor to the youth. If there are
Mokhtar, if I may, there is one question in the chat. I believe it's from youth. So they are asking, are young Africans ambitious enough about their own futures and potential AI will enable to unlock global opportunities? And we have two hands.
Two hands now. Sophia from Morocco.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Please put your camera on. And
okay.
Because we are on AI, we don't know if you are robot or. Okay, you are human. Good. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Allow me just, thank you for the opportunity, first of all. Allow me just to share a few key highlights from Morocco's experience in advancing inclusive and ethical artificial intelligence. Morocco is firmly committed to a human-centered and development-oriented AI guided by the UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of AI, which is adopted early on. To support innovation and capacity building, Morocco established the AI Movement Center of Excellence at Mohammed VI Polytechnic University and promotes advanced AI training, particularly for youth and women. In December 2023, Morocco hosted the first African Summit on Artificial Intelligence in Marrakesh in partnership with UNESCO. The summit brought together African ministers, international experts, private sector actors, and civil society to discuss a shared African vision for responsible and inclusive AI. One key outcome was the launch of a Pan-African AI network to facilitate collaboration, knowledge sharing, and capacity building among African countries. At the global level, Morocco co-sponsored the historic United Nations General Assembly resolution on AI in March 2024, supported by over 120 nations, which aims to promote the development and the deployment of safe, trustworthy, and human-centered AI. It calls for a global governance framework based on human rights, transparency, inclusivity, and international cooperation. Finally, AI is being applied in Morocco across key development sectors such as smart agriculture, healthcare, digital education, public service modernization, and so on. In conclusion, Morocco believes that when responsibly governed, AI can be a powerful lever for Africa's development and transformation. The Kingdom reaffirms its commitment to fostering an African AI ecosystem that is ethical, inclusive, and sovereign, and it opens to strengthening cooperation with partners across the continent and beyond. And thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing this Morocco experience from the University of Polytechnic Mohammed VI. I think it's a very good example. Joseph, you have the floor for 2 minutes because we are running out of time. Joseph Alembe. Okay, Kajal.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just wanted to share my experience that I work in the private sector in Kenya, and we are promoting the use of AI in the firm that I'm a part of. But I do see challenges in trying to get the younger generation to actually adopt these tools. Now, the tools that we have are quite good and actually developed for the purposes of what we do. And what we're finding is that just constant education, constant evangelizing, and most importantly, setting the tone from the top is helping to drive adoption. So it was just an experience share. Thank you.
Thank you. Good example when we talk about the youth generation. And Temba. Temba.
Can you hear me? Hello, all.
Yes.
For my question, I have a question. I'm a youth in Kenya, and so I was wondering how the AU
Please put your
plans
camera on. Please put your camera on. If you ask question, you have to. Okay.
Can you see me? Yes.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I was wondering how Africa can take this opportunity to use AI to create policies that work for us, because we have been in a struggle where we adapt foreign policies and they don't work for us, and how the AU is planning to integrate the use of AI to actually use the metadata we already have to make policies that work for not only Africa in general, but are tailored for youth and women and children and also men. Because AI is machine learning. So if it can adapt to us, it would be a good chance for us to grab it and make use of it while we still can.
Thank you very much, Temba. Arip? After I will take the last Ushi. Arip first, after Ushi.
Thank you very much for the discussion. It was very productive. I'm Arip Kinasha, a CEO and founder of Aerovolt Tanzania Limited. It's an IPP in Tanzania, independent power producing company. We're specifically dealing with renewable energy. So my biggest question is, since we're going to look into the frameworks of adapting into AI and utilizing it for productivity and maybe industrializing it for much broader usage, what can we put in place as a mechanism to make sure that AI information or data goes through various layers of filtration, and that we can get feedback or data that we can use for something that can actually be executed on the field? Because in some cases, I've heard about the paradox where AI suggested that you can put glue on pizza. So I'm just utilizing that example where if you have data which is mostly focused on engineering, then we need to know that it's accurate, and we need to have a mechanism to make sure that it's useful for the people who are going to be executing the results of reports or information curated by AI. I
Thank
hope
you.
my question was.
Okay, it's clear. Thank you. Ushi Dominic.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. This is a very important webinar. I'm a student from Federal University, Dutse, Nigeria, a PhD student, final year student, an agricultural extension agent as well. I would like to ask how AI can capture the indigenous knowledge, because for us in agricultural extension sector, we deal with the rural farmers, people that depend on the agriculture for their own livelihood. And it's not likely to change their perception overnight. So, but if some of their indigenous knowledge had been captured gradually, they will accept a very good innovation like this. How with such experience from theirs and their indigenous knowledge be captured in AI so that they will accept it very quick. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I need now Francophone people to ask question. We have Central Africa and West Africa. Anyone from Central or West African region? Anyone from this country? We need this collaboration. Yeah, we need this between African country. We talk about South-South collaboration, but we have to start by African country first.
There is one question in the chat box in French. Mokhtar, do you want me to go through the question?
We'll go to the question. Is it from where? It's from which country? From
No, she didn't mention the country.
Sophia is from. Where is Sophia? Morocco. Yeah, Sophia, Morocco. Okay, North Africa. All right.
Okay, so shall I go through the question?
Yeah, go to the question.
Okay, good. So she's saying, ma question, c'est comment aider les chercheurs étudiants en AI à détecter les insuffisances et les besoins dans ce domaine et assurer leur meilleure participation dans les événements internationaux dans ce domaine.
That's a good. So I will attend this question.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let's stop here, and I will give to the panelists each 1 minute because we are running out of time to answer, and also and 1 minute for key message. 1 minute answer, 1 minute key message from this webinar. Let me start by you have Suela, you have a lot of questions. Let me give you 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much for all these very important questions. I will try to briefly respond to all of them if I can. So the first question is related to the gender, is the women, how to ensure that women, they are part of this AI revolution. And the response that I would provide is that in our continental strategy, we have a whole section on gender equality, inclusion, and also diversity in AI. And there is quite recommendations to develop policies and regulatory measures that can empower women and also create opportunities for them. And also there is actions and recommendations to pay attention to the gender bias as we design the AI system. So the women in AI is high on our agenda, and this one is in line with the overall agenda of the African Union to empower women and also to reduce the gender gap. Second question regarding the proposal to develop guidelines and tools on AI trainings. We take note of it, and it is very important proposal. We are currently working to develop like comprehensive continental capacity building programs that will affect different. We know that AI is complex, and also it is cross-sectoral, cross-cutting, so we need to develop different trainings and capacity building programs, and also providing guidance to member states also on how to address this issue also is very important. So on how to support each country to develop AI that benefit each country, I think from the strategy we have identified the common priority areas across the continent. We have cited some sectors, but this doesn't mean that not every country can identify the sector or the priority areas where they feel that they have comparative advantage or where the investment in AI will be important for them. On the AI innovation and protection of intellectual property, we support this idea of protecting and promoting innovation in Africa. There is a policy framework that was adopted last year by the AU Summit on AI startups in Africa. And I think it is important that we start implementing measures that to enable to protect this intellectual property and also to retain talent within the continent, because we know that many African youth, they move to other countries, and also many small innovative startups, they are taken by big tech companies. So there is a need to reinforce this aspect of protecting intellectual property for us to ensure that this AI talent benefit the continent. On
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can let's move to next one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I come to you for your key message. I will come back to you.
Okay.
Dr. Massey.
Thank you very much. I would like to address just 2 points as a keynote and key message and answers for some of the questions. Somebody asked how to integrate AI into educational institutes, especially the universities. By the way, AI currently has changed all the methodologies of delivering any curriculum or any content. So first we have to accept that. And trying to utilize the drawbacks of AI, like this dopamine driven designs, like that makes you addicted to scrolling down for educational purposes. Like Duolingo, for example, is taking advantage of the weakness of AI, which addicted the use to scrolling down for its own advantage, and depending on such a tool and principle is one of my recommendations. The second one is focus the R&D, especially by universities and academicians, on what is coming next. Quantum computing is coming, and problems which would take thousands of years using original computer or the existing computer are solved in minutes. So what is coming on impacting the others, the research topic, I would like to focus on that. For the government, I think supporting EdTech startup, educational technology providers, startups is one of the way to achieve some of these solutions that take advantage of the weakness of AI itself. These are the 3 points that I would like to make. Thank you so much. If I get some chance, I'll come back again.
Thank you, Dr. Jimson.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maktar. Well, as you know, we are advocacy group in AFICTA, private sector. We are part of government. We believe government, of course, government is composed of we the people. But at the same time, those that are leaders, they need advisory, they need intervention, they need input, from stakeholder groups. And that is why we encourage the women. They can join us in AFICTA, the women group join us in AFICTA. In fact, we are short of women wing. So we do e-conferences and advocacy, and we have a number of best practices we can provide so that we can enrich human engagement in your countries. And then concerning the universities, World Bank has been doing a lot, building data centers in those universities. Infrastructure is very important. So just to tell you that if you lack infrastructure in your university, it's very important to have that infrastructure as a basis to move forward. And I think you can reach out to all these donor organizations to help. Then the PhD students, let me throw this challenge to you. PhD student from Nigeria, take it up as a responsibility or something to do. Okay, so reach out to me. We can collaborate, to help. There are a number of solutions actually to support agriculture and recognizing local best practices. It's running right now. There are a number of solutions like that. And finally, we need to note that there's what we call the Net Mundia statement plus 10. That means all stakeholders need to be brought in ab initio. So this to encourage you that don't be shy. Okay, if you have something to say, reach out, and then finally join us in this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Maktar. Allow me to respond to 2 questions, or one relating to how do we capture indigenous knowledge? The other question was how can AI help us make context-specific national AI policies? And actually, there was a third also relating to how can the youth make use of AI to create jobs? And I'd like to say we need to feed the beast. That is, we need to create, or rather produce data from our communities, our societies, feed it into the AI systems, let it be used for training. That is the only way that AI will then be able to regurgitate our sensibilities. Unfortunately, we do not have open data repositories in many countries. It's even difficult sometimes to access government data in a lot of our, African countries. So this is where we actually need to work together, whether it is government, academia, private sector. We need to produce and give access to data in machine-readable form relating to our societies. And that is the only way that then AI will be able to understand and reflect the sensibilities of our respective countries, our respective communities. That is the only way that the youth can then use AI to create job opportunities in your localities, because AI is able to help you to understand what particular problems in your locality exist and how they can actually be resolved, rather than AI reflecting, Western context, Western ways of thinking, Western economic ideologies, etc. We need to feed the beast. And Africa must stop just being, a data subject. It must now create value out of its own data. Thank you.
Thank you. And Millennium.
Thank you so much, Mokhtar. And I'll quickly respond to one question that asked whether young Africans are ambitious enough about their future and the potential of AI. I think from my perspective, I think African youth are already ambitious, because we already see how daily they're trying to innovate and find new solutions to social challenges that are currently existing in our communities. They try to leverage AI and come with new innovations. But I think ambition itself is not enough. I think they need more of support, more of funding, more of recognition of their work that they currently do. And to close, I would say the Africa future, AI future will only be inclusive if it's co-built by youth and not for them. So I think this is a call for countries and Africa at large to make sure that they're including youth in conversations, but also in development of AI and investing in their innovations. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it is the end. Let me go back to one of each of you. One word takeaway before we close this session, because we are running out of time. Only one word takeaway for this session. Let me start by Millennium.
Let's say inclusion.
Hmm?
Inclusion.
Inclusion.
Yeah.
And Jeremy? Dr. Jeremy?
Proactivity.
And Jimson?
Continuous engagement as a word.
No, one
engagement.
No, one word, one, not two, one, only one.
Well, collaboration.
Collaboration. And Dr. Messi?
May I say partnership?
And Suela?
I would say innovation. We need to be innovative to embrace this
No, one
AI
word.
evolution.
Yes, innovation is okay. Huh?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I think we are at the end of this wonderful webinar, and we learn a lot about how the policy, the involvement of private sector, the youth position, also the academia. What is the role of the academia in the AI adoption to build an AI ecosystem for the African country? But some key takeaway are very clear. With this AI future should be inclusive. Everybody should be part of this AI development, AI adoption in the continent. Why? The collaboration is a key between private sector, government, academia, and civil society. Also, we need to be proactive in the development of all these applications for the need of the continent to build the future of African development. Also, innovation is a key. As we have a young population, we need to promote innovation. That means we need to have a sound regulation, because there is a dichotomy between sound regulation and innovation. We need to align our regulation to promote innovation, why the sandbox approach will be a good idea. And I would like to thank you all, our panelists, for this wonderful session, and also organizer, UNCTAD, ECA, and everyone, and all the participants for your value contribution for this session. Also, the good presentation done by our colleague from UNCTAD. Over to you, Jan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mokhtar, for moderating this session. We are coming to the end of our webinar, and I would like to thank you all for joining us today and for your active participation in this session. And we really discussed a lot in the area related to artificial intelligence, especially in development space and focusing on Africa. So please allow me to thank ECA team for co-organizing this webinar, and thank you so much to you all, the panelists, for sharing your thought. Thank you so much to Messia, Suhila, Jimson, Jeremy, and Millennium. It was really very important to all the participants to hear from you. I would like also to thank colleagues from UNCTAD for the presentation of the report and for the technical coordination of this webinar. It was a very successful one with more than 100 participants. So we have had a powerful insight from the transformative potential of AI in different economic sectors. We have explored not only the opportunities that AI presents, but also the risk and responsibilities that comes with it. So once again, thank you all for joining the webinar. We shall keep in touch. We have all your emails, and we are going to share the recordings of this webinar as well as the reports. Once again, thank you. If you can put on all your cameras just for a family picture, and then we are done. This is for all the participants, just to put on the camera for a picture. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Have a very nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.